talk a lot of Kirby on this channel. If you're new here, hi, hello, we do talk a lot of Kirby. That is something you should know. Maybe if you like that, consider subscribing, liking the video, leaving a comment, doing all that good stuff. But most of all, we like to talk efficiency. What's good, what's not so good, and why. It may sound a little bit weird, but trust me, when you get into the specifics, it is fascinating and really shows what makes Kirby, or at least part of what makes Kirby, so heckin' awesome. That being said, I don't pretend to be the only person who knows about this stuff. Heck, I wouldn't even say that I'm one of the best. But I would also like to think, generally speaking, I know my stuff. So what happens when you get a group of people who think they know what they're talking about and try to make their case on a public website that anybody can read? Yeah, that's what I did for 7 hours on my stream. The actual VOD itself is linked in the description if you want to see the whole unedited spectacle for some reason. But for your viewing pleasure, I have trimmed this down to the highlights, and now you get to watch those highlights. I won't hold you up any longer, just please enjoy the video and get ready for some crazy stuff. I don't remember how I came across it, but I just remember seeing it. I read the first little section, and I'm like, okay, well, this isn't so bad. I kept reading, and I'm like, oh, wait, this is gonna make a good video? And then, well, I'll talk about it when we get there, but there was one specifically that I saw it. It talks about one ability and compares it to another. And I was like, oh, this is a stream. Or a video. But I'm not gonna hold it any longer. Now, for real, is this gonna work right away? It does. TV tropes used to be a big deal. Everybody used to use TV tropes. Basically, it's a website where, you know, you talk about TV tropes, but it expanded so far beyond just TV that it started playing other things like comic books, movies, animation, video games, of course, as we're talking about today. The tropes themselves started to apply to things other than what you would find on TV. And that's how we're here. That's how we're at the Game Breaker page for Kirby. I think this is particularly interesting because if we go to the Game Breaker, an often controversial element of gameplay that unexpectedly trumps all others. A game breaker is an element of a game that, due to underestimated abilities or players coming up with creative ways of using it, ends up making the game hugely easy. So yeah, there is definitely an implication being set here that the stuff that you are going to be using makes the game easier. It's basically like the efficiency arguments that I put up with. I guess there's like a bit more of a stretch because it's kind of vague. But the same idea is there, like what I talk about with something being efficient, something being good. Boy, howdy, do they have interesting definitions. I was not expecting TV tropes. Oh, get ready. Don't think just because TV tropes is in the title, don't think that this is going to be not interesting. I explore TV tropes to this day. I'll say this much, and I don't care if it gets me in trouble. If you explore TV tropes, use an ad blocker. If you're not using an ad blocker, it's abysmal. All right, let's get to reading. Let's get to reading some of these. It's been a half hour. I think this is a good time. I am going to give them the benefit of the doubt. I shouldn't, but I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt and say that if there's something that's going to be for multiple games, it's not talking about all of them. It's just going to be talking about specific ones in which it applies. So I see Hammer right here, and I know Hammer is not good in every game, believe it or not. But it's good in enough of them to where, you know, I get why they put it on here. All right, so let's get started. First one is flight. So flight is always an interesting topic to talk about with Kirby, especially in terms of, you know, does it break the games? Does it make them too easy? Flight. It renders almost every platforming challenge a joke. It doesn't run out in most games. Taking damage still allows you to keep flying, and the only cost is slowness and a larger hitbox, none of which matter very much when most games don't have timed mission stages and enemies generally do little damage. What's your standard for this one? Them generally doing little damage? I'm like, actually, oh, my glasses are super crooked. I love it. But generally doing little damage. What is your frame? There, I suppose. I shouldn't. Whoever put this on, what's their frame of reference for generally doing little damage? Because I want them to play Kirby Superstar where enemies can deal a third of your HP because that game is funny. But also just the idea that flight is, a lot of people say this, that flight is completely, you know, broken. It nullifies all the challenges of the game. I hear people say that about Kirby's Adventure especially, that the levels weren't made very well because you can float over everything if you just hold up and to the right. And Sure, you'll eventually beat the game doing that, but there are going to be enemies in the sky. There are other objectives that you're going to miss out on. You are going slower, which means, yes, you are going to have a harder time because there are going to be enemies up there. Sure, they're not going to be in every single room, but, you know, like, what's the difference between using Flight and using Tornado? Because it's Kirby's Adventure, so I gotta say this. What's the difference between using Flight and using Tornado? Tornado's a lot faster, it's gonna be a lot stronger. Flight also doesn't work for every single obstacle, so the more that you use Flight and the more that you rely on it, the more you're gonna get punished when you come across something in Adventure, especially in the mid to late game, that you can't just cheese with Flight. You actually do need to, you know, kind of either take your time a little bit better or breeze through it with Tornado or Glitch UFO, whatever. Flight is a very bad take, I think, as far as being a game breaker goes, and a part of it is the slowness. Saying that because the games don't have timed missions, the speed of it doesn't really matter is very bad, especially because, as I've explained several times in recent videos, but in particular the one where I explain why efficient play is so important for this kind of thing, especially if you're going to be calling it a game breaker. Speed is important because the longer that you spend on something, the more likely you're going to mess it up. That's just the nature of the beast. If you're going to spend half a minute doing something, if you're going to spend 5 seconds doing something, how much more likely are you going to be able to mess up in that 30 seconds and those 5? I know that's very broad, but you can't get too upset with the specifics when you're talking in a larger sense, which Flight is absolutely doing. I agree with it doesn't run out in most games. I agree with that one. And it's not even, you know, that makes Flight better or worse. It's a fact. It's a fact, right? Calling it a game breaker, I think, is pretty ridiculous. I get why it's here because it's one of the big reasons why I want people to know about efficient Kirby so much, so that they can actually look at these games and realize that, like, oh, Flight is just helpful for new people. When you actually know what you're doing, it's kind of bad. I never use Flight to fly over all of Kirby. I love going fast, and there are tons of flying aerial enemies. There you go. There you go. You summarized everything that I said really short. Content build puppy, true. Let's learn why Hammer is a game breaker. Yeah, let's talk about Hammer. Okay, the Hammer. Sorry, I should call it the right thing. All right, I won't be a jerk. Sorry. It's powerful enough on its own and can also be used underwater. And in some of the games, it comes with the Hammer Flip move. Though it comes with a slight delay, it's one of the most damaging moves in the series. And then there's the Hammer invincibility frames when using Hammer Swing, Hammer Twirl, and the Ultra Giant Swing, allowing Kirby and the player to ignore attacks while simultaneously doing damage. The only real caveat is that it's a fairly rare ability in every game it's in, with the exception of Kirby and the Forgotten Land only being readily available by inhaling Bonkers. In Forgotten Land, there are regular enemies that you can inhale that give you Hammer. You can go to the blacksmith and get Hammer that way. Or there are ability essences that are more frequent, or at least the Hammer ones are more frequent. So while in the other games it is true that you basically only get it from Bonkers for the most part, that's what they mean by Forgotten Land. And then to explain what these moves are, Hammer Flip is when you're on the ground and you do up B, Kirby goes whoosh, whoosh, and does that really strong hit. A lot of people know Hammer Flip, but Hammer Swing is the dash attack. Hammer Twirl is the down B when Kirby sticks the hammer below them and they kind of spin around on it for a little while. They twirl their hands for a little while. I guess that's where the name comes from. And then Ultra Giant Swing is the aerial dash attack. I know this because Giant Swing is the aerial not dash attack. Okay, so this is... I'm actually curious. What do you... Oh, these glasses are so crooked. It's so cute. Chat, I want to hear from you first. Both Twitch and YouTube. I want to hear from both of you. What do you think about this? Ultra Giant Swing does not allow the... Thank you, buttbags. That's like the first thing that I was gonna talk about, but thank you for beating me to it. Ultra Giant Swing has 0 invincibility in every single game that it's in. Okay, alright, so Hammer's interesting. Hammer is... They're almost right. I would be willing to give them a lot more credit if the logic here wasn't so blatantly wrong. Very bad logic here. As buttbags already pointed out, Ultra Giant Swing does not allow you to ignore attacks. Hammer Swing, Dash Attack, Hammer Twirl, the down B, those do because they have invincibility frames on them, as is said right here. Ultra Giant Swing, which is said right here, not a single frame of it. But even then, the Ultra Giant Swing is only good in the Kirby Clash games. In the games that you would be, the actual main series games that you would be using it in, and that more people have played. Think Triple Deluxe, Planet Robobot, maybe not Triple Deluxe, but no, a little bit of Triple Deluxe, but especially Planet Robobot and Star Allies. Ultra Giant Swing is not very good. It actually gets out damaged by the regular Giant Swing because of how bosses take damage and how fast falling works with doing your attacks. Let's break down why, even though this is kind of a good take, this is bad. So Hammer can be used underwater. That is true. However, why does that matter? What is Hammer's being able to be used underwater? What does that actually do for it in practice? Sure, it's like you could say that it's a perk, but underwater enemies typically never have that much HP. Water bubble is not only typically enough to deal with enemies that are underwater, but because it's a projectile, it winds up having longer reach. The only perk that Hammer would really have over that is the damage. And hey, guess what? Enemies underwater typically always die in one hit anyway, especially in the older games where enemies didn't have HP at all. Here we go. This is actually the one that I wholeheartedly actually agree with. It comes with the Hammer Flip move, though it comes with a slight delay. It's one of the most damaging moves in the series. I agree with this because it's general. You have to play a game, and these are actually less frequent than you would expect. You have to be playing a game where Giant Swing is not just your best option to begin with, and you have to be playing a game that has Hammer Flip that actually has good range. I think this is only, if I'm not mistaken, this is only Superstar Ultra, Return to Dreamland, and Return Deluxe, with a slight-ish thing going for Triple Deluxe, maybe? Now, there are games like the original Superstar where it feels like it has a negative hitbox and it's just really bad because you can't hit with it. So those games, you know, sure. And even like Forgotten Land, you know, I mean, I know Hammer is good and Hammer Flip is a huge part of that, but one, there are better options, but also, unless you're doing a dodge specifically, it can take a little while to charge up. So let's talk about, then there's Hammer's iframes and using Swing, Twirl, and Ultra Giant Swing, allowing Kirby and the player to ignore attacks while simultaneously doing damage. I find the wording here very interesting because it's worse when an ability can't do this. It's not, this isn't a factor that makes an ability better. It's expected. Let's just think of a couple of abilities off the top of our head. Hammer, of course. There's Fighter, there's Ice, there's Parasol, there's Swords, there's the first half of Whips for some reason, there's Magolor, there's technically ESPs, it is invincible. The point is, you get what I'm saying. Like, that's just Star Allies. Forget like the other. Oh, Yo-Yo. A lot of abilities that give you invincibility, and the idea that because Hammer has it, that makes it better is wrong when you're in a series full of abilities that have dash attacks that give that to you. The idea of you getting invincibility using these attacks is that you have an easier time using the attacks without getting hit and taking damage. It's one of the very interesting things about how abilities work. So implying that Hammer is better for having it is not true. The only real caveat is that it's a fairly rare ability in every game that it's in, with the exception of Kirby and the Forgotten Land, only readily available by inhaling Bonkers. I know a lot of people don't like this. We're talking about game breakers here, right? In Kirby's Adventure, and this is the case for a lot of games too, it's not just Adventures, because Adventure's kind of like the first one that came to my head. You can get Hammer in probably like 10 seconds. Mix. Hammer is on every single mix roulette wheel. Ironically, except for Forgotten Lands, you have to actually get the ability first before you can mix for it. Every other game, just mix for it. It's not rare. No ability is rare. Unless you're playing a game without mix, availability and rarity is not a factor for any ability. Even U.F.O. Even U.F.O., which aside from Adventure, is an ability you can't even take out of levels. It's not a factor, because you can mix. And Hammer is an ability you can take out of levels. So if you're like, hey, listen, actually you're wrong, and U.F.O. is rare, I'll take the L on that one, sure, whatever, I don't care. But Hammer, no, it is very readily available because you can mix in virtually any level in the series. It is not rare. Whenever I play Helper to Hero, it's always incredibly jarring when Parasol has 0 iframes, right? Right? All right, so this is the last one that I know the order from. After this, I don't know the order anymore. Stone. You see it right here. Well, you already see what my problem with it is right here. But, you know, we'll give it a fair shot. Stone. It's limited in techniques, but it can be used to easily blow through bosses thanks to doing good damage, being easy to hit with, and granting invincibility that can be switched on and off at any moment. Great for those who prefer a safe defensive playstyle. So the funny thing here, for sake of argument, I'm ignoring this. You know, I have a whole video talking about why safe defensive playstyle doesn't work. And yes, this is why defensive play simply doesn't work when you're evaluating stuff like this. Standing around and giving the game opportunities to beat you down is far worse than solving the problem and moving on. So instead of trying to talk about this, let's break down this mess. Let's talk about this mess. This is a horrible mess right here. It's very funny because whenever I say that, like, you know, defense doesn't work very well for talking efficient, I almost always hear people say things along the lines of, oh yeah, like Stone, which is kind of funny because Stone's pretty good. Stone, I would actually argue, is quite good. It's an offensive ability with defensive merit, but nobody really well, not nobody, but a lot of people don't look at it through that lens because so many people know it as the one that, you know, you can just sit on the bosses with. But whenever I actually watch people try to do this, right? Doing the invincibility thing that you just sit there and don't take damage until the boss moves out of your way and rinse repeat. People always mess it up because they get impatient. And I'm not saying that's necessarily a bad thing. You get impatient because doing it this way takes forever. It takes a long time, especially with like mini bosses that don't move out of the way. You're gonna be getting hit. You're gonna be taking a lot of damage if you're not very patient. This is actually the first time I'm hearing someone say that Stone is easy to hit with. I've never heard this. This is a very bad telling of Stone's invincibility. This is implying that you can actually turn it on and off at any moment and not suffer any consequences. There's definitely implications here for that. When in obvious reality, if you use Stone and you get hit, then you will get hit if you're not in the Stone form. And that's where the impatience comes from, of people that want to kind of get a move on, so they try to rush through it, and they fail. Because Stone is not fully invincible 24/7. This is just true. Stone is actually very strong. I would maybe actually. That's an interesting question. Is Stone better than Hammer? It might be. Obviously not for the bosses, unless we're talking some very specific games. Obviously, Stone wouldn't be better. Well, specific games and specific boss fights in those specific games, let me be more clear. But Stone has a lot of utility for levels. That's what's interesting about Stone. It has a level utility, whereas I feel like Hammer's level utility basically kind of boils down to boss fights, which, you know, you're typically not going to want to use an ability just for boss fights, because then you're left with a slower ability for the levels. You know, boss fights take up, this is metaphorical, it's not literal, but just for sake of example here, boss fights take up, what, 10% of a level, and then 90% is the level. Obviously, there's more nuance to it than that. This is very broad, but we're still not at specific examples yet, so I didn't want to. What's better, Kirby with or without swimming goggles? With, for sure. Swimming goggles are a fashion statement, and we stand. Stone isn't good because it's defensive. It's good because it's good. That's such a good way of putting it. I love it. I love it. So yeah, okay, I answered my question. And now that I answered my question, let's get back to business. All right, so I actually lied. I do know which one is next. And very funny that, you know, we're talking about, you know, defensive, safe, defensive, and slow is not very consistent.
Wheelie excited for this one.
Wheelie excited for this one. It's Wheel. All right, let's talk about Wheel. Let's see, because they are correct. Wheel is, by all definitions of the term, a game breaker. There are some abilities, some games where it's very bad against bosses. There are some games where it is broken against bosses. So by all definitions of the word, because we're being general here, this is a game breaker. Let's see if they stick the landing or not. I'm doubtful, based on what they had to say about, like, Hammer and stuff. Look at how crooked these glasses are. It's so cute. Wheel is a consistently broken movement ability in many Kirby games. Kirby is completely invincible while Wheel is active, except while turning, runs over normal enemies and star blocks with ease, and deals consistent damage to bosses all the while. It's also very easy to control and near ubiquitous throughout most games it can be found in. In any game where a Wheel Kirby can jump, you can expect both casual players and speedrunners to abuse the ability whenever possible. What the heck? They stuck the landing. Excuse me? Because we're speaking generally, it is largely true. I am shocked that they were managed to stick. They were managed. Movement, super good. No notes. Completely invincible while active, except while turning. There are some games where turning has invincibility, but we're talking broadly here. In most games, it does not. Fair enough. Runs over normal enemies, star blocks with ease. Completely true. And deals consistent damage to bosses all the while. Depends on the game. I know like Planet Robobot, it's very bad, but Amazing Mirror, it's stupidly good. Squeak Squad, it's pretty good. It's also very easy to control. This one I feel is a little opinionated. As you know, someone who plays a lot of Kirby, I find Wheel pretty easy to control myself. But I guess you could argue that Wheel is not necessarily easy to control, especially when it doesn't have a jump. And near ubiquitous throughout most games it can be found in. I mean, mixing like we were talking about with Hammer, I guess. So I suppose in the actual sense, it is near ubiquitous because every ability is. Nah, you know what? I'll let this one slide. Mixing is a thing. In any game where Wheel Kirby can jump, you can expect both casuals and speedrunners to abuse the ability whenever possible. Do you think somebody came on this page watching my videos? Because this reads completely differently to these. And they got the jumping. Yeah, no, they stuck the land. I mean, it's not perfect by any means, but they stuck the landing. Shoot. I was about to type up how Kirby's Adventure has invincible wheel technically, but it's a glitch. That's Kirby's Adventure. I would count it. I would count glitches. Like, I count glitched U.F.O, for example. All right, Kirby's Adventure. Even if you're not playing super efficiently, which for the sake of this we're talking about, but even if, you're playing, like, efficiently enough, I think the one thing that everybody can agree on, aside from Tornado, better agree on Tornado, is that the best way to play through Adventure is to minimize the lag. So I'm curious if there's anything here that talks about that, because if you know what you're doing, you can make this game largely lag-free and still play efficiently. So let's see what they have to say. High jump? In Adventure? So I'll say this, if we were talking about Nightmare, absolutely true. Okay, the original Kirby Game Breaker is the high jump ability in this game. I brought my glasses on, right? Okay, good. While the main stages, it was just a funny ability, only useful in certain contexts? Huh? Against bosses, it became a destruction machine? The combination of iframes and the fact that it has you leap far outside most bosses' range of attacks meant that if you were good at timing, you could pretty much beat pretty much any boss silly without ever taking a hit. This ability could be used both offensively and to dodge things. And the only bosses that weren't made a complete breeze by this were Heavy Mole? With whom it's tricky to both attack with high jump and leap out of attack range. And Meta Knight, well, okay. And Meta Knight, who says screw you to your game breaker and forces you to fight on his level. All right, well, okay. There is one thing on here that is correct, okay? And that is a high jump is not useful against Meta Knight. I'm baffled. I'm baffled. High jump in Adventure? I'm sure it's good for moving vertically, don't get me wrong, but like high jump? When is moving vertically, like, actually useful? There's butter building. There's parts of butter building. I should be specific. There's Kracko. And there's that one level in Yogurt Yard. Kinda. There's, like, one level in Yogurt Yard that you start in a room where you have to move up. And then the next room is a current that pushes you upward. So, kinda, I guess. And, okay, listen, what's actually funny about this one, I'm justifying in my head why you would say it for the levels, in which I would argue it's actually not terrible. Maybe not a game breaker, but, it's pretty good. A funny ability only useful in certain contexts. So it says right here, it's setting the precedent. Now, I do want to stress, or say whatever, the idea that broken for levels, bad for bosses, or broken for bosses, bad for levels, I get that. That's how I model my spotlights, right? Like, if an ability is really bad for the levels, but it's OP for bosses or vice versa, I will say that it's really good. I totally get why. But what it's saying right here is that high jump is not good for the levels, except for a couple of small things that it was designed around. And that it's only good against bosses. High jump is not like Nightmare, where it has a really huge hitbox. The hitbox is Kirby. So the only way to make high jump work
is by pretty much hitting the boss, because bosses in Adventure are not like Nightmare. They're very small. It's not like Nightmare, where you do the first hit, you cancel the high jump, and that puff of smoke does additional damage. And if you get close, it does more damage because there's a second hit on high jump for some reason in that game. It is literally just Kirby jumps. That is it. You can cancel it, but if you use it once while you're in the air, you can't use it again until you land. Even if you do like a float cancel, you cannot use it again until you touch the land. And if you bounce, you have to wait until the bounce is over. It is defensively, I suppose it is invincible, but offensively, it does not do a lot of damage, and defensively, it is too Band-Aid fixed, I guess, in order to do much of anything except for Kracko. So, yeah, fine, Kracko, whatever, but, you know, I'm imagining, like, Mr. Shine and Mr. Bright, I'm imagining, Day-to-Day, I'm imagining, ironically, Heavy Mole, I would actually say it might actually be pretty okay. I'm thinking about this, like, how are you supposed to do this? I mean, Paint Roller, like, it's slow and it's inefficient and it's bad, but I can at least imagine for Paint Roller, you're like, okay, I just won't hit Paint Roller until he goes through the center. It's not good. It's not what I would call a game breaker at all. Oh, shoot, gamers, what do you think is next? What do you think is next? If there's anything else for Adventure, Freeze. Freeze, that's my guess. Wait a minute, chat. They might be cooking again, chat. Wait a minute. HAL Laboratory designed the U.F.O ability to smash the game's balance to pieces. It grants free movement in the air and a versatile attack with 4 levels of charge, the last level of which tears bosses to shreds with only a couple of hits. That's why they wisely decided to make the U.F.O ability wear off after one stage, make it unable to go through drop-through floors while other abilities can, and on top of that, made the little UFOs that grant the ability the only enemies in the game that never respawn. Very true. Not a lot of people talk about this, but that is very true. Unfortunately, though, they neglected to catch a... Oh my god, chat, they cooked! They neglected to catch a glitch that allows Kirby to be a UFO for the entire game. Okay, slight nitpick, which we'll talk about later. In the remake, Nightmare in Dreamland, you can get UFO by sucking up 2 Rockies and whiz through the rest of the stage. You can do that in Adventure, too. Why is it just a thing you can do in Nightmare? You do that in Adventure, too? Okay, well, they were cooking. Largely, I don't have my only nitpick here is that to be UFO for the entire game, all the glitch does is solve this. It solves this flaw. It does not solve this one. So, I mean, there are still a few points that you have to drop it because you can't go through. You can use other glitches in most areas. In Yogurt Yard, I believe, there is one level where you actually have to get rid of it at the very beginning of the level because there's no glitch that we currently know of that will let you go through the drop-down floor. It's actually a ladder, if you want to be specific, but whatever. Yeah, no, this is all correct. Although, I do want to preface that UFO without glitch still has applications. You can still make it good. Because UFO in Adventure specifically, again, I want to stress that, UFO is so strong that even with this limitation in place, you can still make it good. It's, I think they wisely, I agree with TV Tropes on this, can't really do much with it outside of its base level, and the glitch was a glitch. I feel like that's like awakening an age-old memory, right? It wasn't anything recent, but I feel like I've heard that before. Excuse me. Okay, no, I have to try this one. Klaire is totally normal about Kirby. Okay, here's Needle. Better than it is in Adventure at the very least. I'll agree with them on that. This is a short bit, so we don't have to spend a long time on it. Let's talk about Needle. Kirby Nightmare in Dreamland has the Needle ability. You have invincibility from attacks while giving you the ability to keep hurting enemies. No. No. All right, so we're gonna go here. We're gonna use Needle. What's that? But TV Tropes told me that I would have invincibility. What's this? TV Tropes was wrong? I thought TV Tropes was correct. You can beat Bonkers to grab the hammer ability just by tossing yourself at him and pressing the attack button. The music can stop for a second. I'm going to repeat this. You can beat Bonkers to grab the hammer ability by tossing yourself at him and pressing the attack button. Oh, actually, you know what? I wasn't even thinking about this, but hey, I got lotion. I have a lotion. Isn't that cool? Okay, Dedede can be damaged before his fight starts by using this ability. The drawback is that it's difficult to use against flying bosses and enemies, but not impossible. I'm not even humoring this one. I'm just not even going to humor it. I really love Needle in, like, most games that it's in. I didn't for a while, and then I did the spotlight on it a few years ago. And it really made me realize that Needle is an ability that has a lot going for it, but it's always outclassed. And not in a way that's like, Dedede can be damaged before the fight starts by using this ability. Like, Needle has a lot of really cool stuff going for it that is legitimately, like, good in an efficient setting, but it's not good enough. And it's like, it made me feel really bad for it, so then I started using it. I'm like, this is hype. I love this ability now. It's super cool. Literally all of this is false. Literally everything it's saying here is false. Needle is good because you can just throw yourself at bonkers and attack and get hammer. Meanwhile, the suspiciously every other copy ability shaped Kirby. I'm so glad we see eye to eye on this, chat. I'm so glad. So far we have Adventure High Jump, Adventure and Nightmare U.F.O, and Nightmare Needle. So of those four, one of them is true. One of them is close to being true. One of them is kind of wrong. And the other one was Needle. Sword, because you have to use it against Meta Knight, and it's the hardest fight in the game. It's got to be that. It's got to be that. That's my guess. That's my guess. Here we go, chat. Are you kidding me? You're kidding me. You're kidding me. Ball is not that good in Adventure. Oh my god. But it is a Nightmare. You were so close again. You were so close again. Also from Adventure is the surprisingly niche ball power. While it ball passed up for the longest time, speedrunners eventually figured out a way to finagle its strange physics to get it up to full momentum within a few bounces. Holding the A button, showing its potential to turn Kirby into an invincible ball of destruction that does more damage than any other attack in the game, turning into a boss shredder especially. And Nightmare! And Nightmare! And look, for what it's worth, Tornado struggles in this fight too, right? This is not like a ball exclusive issue. Let's say hello to our good friend, Burst, Burbs. Oh, did you see that hitbox, chat? Did you see that hitbox? Oh my god, chat, this move has a hitbox! Okay, there we go, there we go. It took me a little while to get into the swing of things, but now you're seeing ball. Now you're seeing ball. Yeah, so obviously, as you saw there, the problem in Adventure, typical Adventure problem, doesn't have a hitbox. It can multi-hit, which is pretty useful for, like, Bonkers. Bonkers is probably, like, the only mini-boss that it would be useful for. Nightmare and Dreamland is where it's good, not Adventure. They were very close, and they completely missed the mark. They missed the ball. Well, Klaire, you can jump into Bonkers and get the hammer ability. You are so right. You are so right. You are so right for saying it, and you should be saying it. All right. That's everything. Where's Tornado? I'm gonna mash the B button, chat, and I want you to think to yourself, when is she gonna be able to act out of Tornado again? I'm gonna mash the B button now. Right away! Right away. Well, you can do that in Squeak Squad too when you say Tornado's not very good in that game. Look at how fast it is. I don't know. Maybe Tornado just isn't very good for the boss fights. You ever think about that? You ever think about that, Pupperino? I just want to showcase, because I've been talking about Tornado a lot today, right? I've been talking about Tornado a lot today, and for some people watching, you may have never seen Tornado in action before, so to speak. So look at this. We didn't even need a needle for that. We didn't even need needle for that. Let's go. We got hammer without needle. Okay, all right, so now that we're done freaking out about, you can mention Nightmare in Dreamland Needle, but you can't mention Adventure Tornado. Okay, all right, Kirby Dreamland 2, what do you got? What do you got? Let's, ooh, okay. Tornado, there's Tornado, it's just in the wrong game, silly. The resulting tornado attack provides invincibility frames and an easily maneuvered hitbox. It's so bad. What? It's the wrong verbiage, I know, it's just like, what? It's so bad that angry propeller bombs, which are normally Oko the animal friends, can be destroyed by it. That one I need to test. I wouldn't be surprised if they invult through it, but actually destroying them, I need that confirmed. Needless to say, Ku and the combo itself deserved to be nerfed? What? That's so mean. In Kirby's Dream Land 3, Ku is harder to control there, false, and the combo can actually be pierced by certain attacks, at least including the nose poke counterattack by Wispy Woods. Okay, so I still don't believe this, right? Otherwise, though, the thing about Ku plus Parasol, Ku is not nerfed in Dream Land 3, they're crazy. It's fine. It's very weak versus bosses and mini-bosses. You know, it's going to matter for both. KDL2 has a good chunk of those. The only thing that Ku really needs help with is fighting bosses, which is why Ku plus Cutter is so strong, because it's strong. Well, it does provide iframes in a game that doesn't really have that many iframes. I will give it that. Let me word it like this. You get the iframes, and then what? It's like what I was talking about before with the water bubbles and the water spray. Like, sure, you get the iframes, and sure, you can go through enemies, but you're not moving. If anything, you might be moving a little bit slower than you are with Ku by default. And why do Ku plus Parasol? Because you still have to deal with the cooldown. It's not like Adventure where there's no cooldown. There's a little bit of cooldown where you can get hit. So why bother risking that when you can just do Ku plus Cutter, which moves faster when you're doing just Ku? Bad, I think, is an overstatement. I don't think we're necessarily... I think just straight up calling it bad is an over-exaggeration. I think it has uses, especially at like a beginner level, for efficiency. Watch them not put Ku plus Cutter. I wouldn't get mad at it like with Adventure, because Adventure, it's so obvious. KDL2, I can at least acknowledge it's not obvious, right? Actually, okay, if they're geniuses on here, they do Rick plus Needle, because that's the strongest for boss fights. It's, like, I'm just talking about in terms of raw damage. Like, per hit, it's not very good. But in terms of raw damage per hit, it's Rick plus Needle. So, if they're geniuses... Oh, shoot! Ku plus Cutter! Oh, we already said everything about this one. I'll just read this and we can move on. Ku plus Cutter makes him shoot a spread shot, 3 spreading cutters that cover a wide area and can destroy the propeller bomb. That is false. They do not destroy the propeller bombs. Like the above, Dreamland 3 nerfs it. Now you can only shoot 1 cutter at a time in one of the 3 directions. Great. They said Ku plus Cutter, and they completely ignored what actually made it good. The Dreamland 3 part was correct, though. It's very bad in KDL 3. But the reason why Ku plus Cutter is good is because every single hit of the leaves that it shoots out deal damage. So if you get close to a boss and you shoot it out, every single one of the leaves, which do not scale in damage, are going to hit the boss. So imagine if you're like full screen and you shoot the leaves at the boss, one of them hits the boss, that damage, multiply that by 3, and that's how much damage you're dealing to them with Ku plus Cutter. That is why Ku plus Cutter is a game breaker. Because you take a character who has unparalleled speeds that can make every single level in the game an absolute joke, and now you allow him to be good versus bosses. That is why Ku plus Cutter is ridiculous. Does Rick plus Needle deal more damage? Sure. But Rick isn't going to be doing anything. Needle's not going to be doing anything. Ku plus Cutter is going to be breezing through these levels and breezing through the boss fights. That's what makes it broken. No, actually, I would say I agree with this one. It's Kine plus Ice. The idea is that you can move freely with an impenetrable shield of ice, but if you hold it too long, you're frozen in a cube of ice and left immobile and defenseless for a couple of seconds. In theory, this is a balance. In practice, all you need to do is tap the B button to keep the shield indefinitely. It also renders the propeller bombs a complete non-threat since they are frozen in one hit by the ice. Okay, I will say, I think they're a little more worried about the propeller bombs than they have to be. However, this one is actually true. Dreamland 3 changes it so Kine is immediately frozen and immobile, although enemies that touch him will still get frozen. That is also true. I wouldn't say it's like useless in Dreamland 3, but it was a sizable nerf, which is a real shame. Could you imagine Kine mobility in KDL 3 with KDL 2 ice? That'd be ridiculous. Kine on land is pretty fast and fun to use if you know how jumping works with him, especially if you have a great ability such as Kine plus Ice. The thing about Kine plus Ice, this is another one where you look at it and you think, oh, that's a defensive ability. Wouldn't it be pretty bad? All it does is shield Kine. But it's the fact that it shields Kine while freezing enemies and propeller bombs, and you have a complete free form of your movement while you're doing it. And when I say this, I mean when you're underwater, you can hold the shield and dash. Because Kine has the underwater dash that allows him to move super fast. You can still do that while using Kine plus Ice, while you're holding the button down or tapping it, whatever. You can hold the button and then, you know, let it go for a little bit. And then I don't actually know if tapping it works. I don't trust TV tropes, to be frank, but when you stop using it, it completely resets that cooldown timer. So you really don't have to, either way, you really don't have to worry. It is used in any percent in Hundo. It is my favorite part of playing KDL 2. That's all of them for KDL 2. Wow. I mean, Kirby plus Burning is very good. I definitely would have mentioned that one. I mean, if you're going to mention this, I would have mentioned Kirby plus Burning. Yeah, I guess that's good enough. This one is going to take a while, I feel like. Kirby Superstar. What are you expecting to see for Kirby Superstar, chat? Because this could either be really accurate or it could be really not. If tack ain't there, it's objectively wrong. All right, so I see tack. I see tack again. My guess is that the first one is going to be mirror. That's just my guess. Chat! 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 You got it! You got it! It's tack! Grab the copy ability, make it into a helper, and have a second player take control of him. Realize he is almost literally unkillable short of huge play mistakes. Can vanish at will every time he copies a power. He can ditch and recopy at will. His health refills completely. And if the enemy is uncopyable, has a decently damaging attack that turns lightning fast as long as he's near the enemy. Picking up stone and letting tack deal with everything without any risk of dying got many players through the arena in record times. Oh, there he goes. There's Meta Knight. Although, shoutouts to TV tropes, I never thought about picking stone, so I didn't have to worry about Kirby. Shoutouts to TV tropes for that. While copy is ordinarily pointless for Kirby to have himself, it becomes a game breaker in Milky Way Wishes, as it can bypass that game's gimmick and give Kirby his ability to copy back. Consequently, the copy ability is very well hidden. For efficient play, you realistically won't need this, because getting the ability that you want will probably be faster. But this is, it's not a game breaker, but it is helpful, I suppose. I can't really see any real benefits of doing this instead of, and I stand copy for letting you do this. I think it's super cool. But as far as it being a game breaker, I don't know. Hammer's greatest strength is unlocked there. When using the hammer throw technique, Kirby sacrifices hammer ability for a huge amount of damage, but because of how abilities work in Milky Way Wishes, you can just re-equip hammer and do it again almost immediately. That is actually how you do the fastest cycle for Red Dragon in Superstar Ultra. It is with hammer throw. You do one hammer flip, and then you do like a hit of hammer throw, but you go backwards so that the second hit of hammer throw can properly connect. So you get like 3 hits, and I think it does about 200 damage. At one round's the Death Knight, or whatever his name is. At one round's him, which is a big deal. Not a lot of abilities can do that. Whoa, there's a lot to say about Plasma. Holy shoot. Plasma is another ability that can turn you into an engine of destruction. A full charge fires a shot that not only deals impressive amounts of damage, but also reaches all the way across the screen and pierces through enemies and obstacles. Maintaining a full charge creates a shield that protects you from minor projectiles. You can generate a full charge in about a second with little practice, and you can charge while defending. You can just guard while rapidly spinning the control pad to quickly build up a full charge. Even better, the Virtual Console re-releases provides a much shallower learning curve thanks to the fact that the controllers required to play the game include a usable analog stick, which is much easier to spin at a much more rapid pace. The DS remake, here we go, nerfed Plasma, and then it requires more presses of the control pad to reach full charge, but the 3DS inadvertently buffed it by introducing the circle pad, which you can just spin to build up a full charge in a second like the original. Wow, way to completely miss the point of what makes Plasma stupid. That actually completely misses the point. I know people that have used Plasma in this game before are very upset that they did not talk about breaking your thumbs. So specifically what makes Plasma so good in Kirby Superstar and how they actually nerfed it in Ultra, it's not that it requires more presses of the control pad. That's just straight up a lie, all right? What actually made it nerfed is that you could charge it faster in Superstar OG. In Kirby Superstar, it didn't count. This is gonna sound a little weird, but it didn't count inputs. It counted how you pressed the D-pad. So if you press, let's just say for example, left and down, it registers both of those inputs. So you'll get 2 inputs for charging your Plasma instead of just 1. Also, when you release Plasma, this is what kills your thumbs realistically. When you release Plasma in Kirby Superstar, the frame you shoot it out, you can start charging it again. Superstar Ultra, there is a small waiting period from when you charge it out, or shoot it out, sorry, to when you can actually start charging it again. Plasma in Superstar Ultra is still very good. I would not call it a game breaker, but I would still call it very good. Plasma in this game also is ridiculous. I forgot about this part, and they also nerfed this in Superstar Ultra. The back hit of Plasma, when you shoot forward, that one that goes full screen, when you fully charge it, there's this really large back hit. It goes diagonally in 2 directions. In Ultra, they made it smaller and it deals less damage. In Superstar OG, it goes really far and it deals the same amount of damage as a fully charged charge shot. It's the exact same amount of damage and the range is so ridiculous. Maybe the second best ability in the game, maybe. I mean, obviously Jet is the best and I doubt they're going to talk about Jet here, but Plasma, I would probably say second best. It's also got stuff in like Milky Way Wishes Hundo, although it's getting phased out. Mirror may not be good, but still my all-time favorite ability. I think that's fine. I don't think there's anything wrong with it being your favorite. I still predict it's gonna be here though. I'd still bet like $1,000. Luckily, I'm not a gambling dog. They did it. They did it. they put Jet on here. I'm not fully confident that they're gonna get it right. All right, before I freak out too much, let's see if they got it right. Let's see. Jet is by far the best ability in the game for speedrunning. There you go. Kirby moves extremely fast with the ability and can even bypass some mini bosses due to how I peripheral visioned bypass some mini bosses while I was freaking out about that. I thought they were going to talk about the weak butts. This is also correct. Okay, so for what it's worth, I should preface all of this. Any ability, so long as you can make a helper, any ability can do this. The trade of Jet doing it is that, 1, you don't need to make a helper. You just need to do a full charge, then jump and do that super Jet jump thing, and then you just keep doing the aerial dash attack. It's really fast, and it doesn't kill your thumbs. So Jet actually does have a perk over every other ability. It should be noted, though, that every ability can do this. It's not a Jet unique thing. Completely fly over the usual area that would trigger the mini-boss battle. Yep. That's only in the original, but that's fine. Its only weakness is that it isn't very effective against bosses compared to, say, Plasma or Hammer. Complete lie, Jet is better. Complete fact, Plasma is better. That being said, the ability is the absolute king of hit-and-run tactics, and with good timing and consistency, Jet Cracker. Also, it has one of the best grapple moves in the game in Rocket Dive. Very true. To put things into perspective, can take out Dynablade the moment she lands. Yup. Yup. That Jet sound design is so satisfying. Yes. DS sound effects are naturally satisfying, but Jet in this game, holy moly. I think the only thing that it really forgot to mention here is that if you can't fly over a mini boss, while the boss spawns in, you can fully charge that jet jump, and then you can jump into their butts and it one-shots them. I don't know what hit and run tactics means either, but okay, all right. No, they did pretty good. They did pretty good. Good job. Good job. I should have bet. Oh, and it's Reflect Guard too. Oh, this just went from being really funny to really frustrating. All right, let's just get this over with. Let's just get this over with. Mirror is Reflect Guard, which reflects all projectiles, can make many bosses such as computer virus and marks much easier to deal with by neutralizing some of their trickier patterns, combined with a serviceable damage output. It's a unique defensive ability that can be pretty overpowered in the right matchups. On service level, I'll even admit it's pretty cool. I hate talking to other people about this move. All right, so you reflect the projectile. Cool. And then what? It does not nullify chip. Maybe if it reflects there, I guess there's like a moniker of a chance that if it reflects the the projectile, it also negates chip damage, but the actual guard itself does not negate chip damage. It just does not. This is so weird. How does this help against computer virus? Just guard with any ability. You take either minimal chip damage or none whatsoever. How are you using the computer virus as an example here? You're really gonna call it serviceable in Kirby Superstar where everything is broken, and then Superstar Ultra that has abilities like Ninja and Hammer? You're really gonna call Reflect Guard serviceable damage? Come on now. I love Mirror, even I realize this is BS. I'm glad you do, because you would be shocked to hear how many people tell me that I'm wrong about Mirror because it negates chip damage, which is false, and reflects projectiles, and then what? Oh, actually Wheelie Rider. Okay, no, this is true. So I doubt they're going to talk about the single-player perks. I'm sure they're only going to talk about player 12. Let's see. The Wheelie Rider ability, which is only done with a Wheelie Helper, is rife for abuse from clever players. All right, chat, this is not speedrun viable. You got to be clever to do this. Even when playing normally with a single player, it can be used to ensure Kirby preserves a rare ability, since he can retain it while riding Wheelie, and as well as direct all damage the duo takes to the helper, allowing for essentially doubled health so long as Wheelie stays alive. That's not really true, but low-key, this is super nice. This is pretty much what you do in Great Cave Offensive. Low-key, this is really, really good, because in any percent for the OG Superstar, you would do this in Ultra, I guess, but you lose out on the boss quick kill butt thing, unfortunately. But the boss quick kill butt thing exists in the OG, right? So you can do that while holding on to an ability. So you actually do the boss quick kill butt thing, and you get Hammer that way. And you hold on to Hammer while using Wheelie Rider throughout all of GCO. I would argue that this is pretty much viable for every single mode. Okay, this might take me a little bit, but hopefully I get it. I thought I had that first try. I'm gonna cry. Yes! Yes! Yes, chat! We got it. Second try. That's still pretty good. There, did you see that? You get the idea. You get the idea. You see it does a bunch of hits instead of just doing one. Okay, however, with either two players or one player in the right controls, modified controller or rematch controller is nigh unstoppable. Getting around the fact that you're using two controllers and you've got great mobility and a very powerful projectile effect, this is all that matters. This is why two-player Wheelie Rider. This right here, faster than Hammer. It is actually straight up clear it, and it's like 10 seconds too. It's a moderate amount of time. It's just straight up better than what Hammer can do. In Ultra too, I'm talking about like the good Hammer. Knuckle Joe or Fighter Kirby. I have a feeling this is only on here because of the anime, but we're gonna see. If you use his charged B attack, he fires a Kamehameha Hadouken that can go across the screen and deals a respectable 20 damage per hit. Most characters able to fire off attacks from a distance either have a drawback, Plasma needs charging, Ninja's Kunai are weak, have significant recovery time? Wow, okay, but not Joe. The attack has only a paltry few frames of recovery and can be used on both the ground and in the air. That is wrong. So long as you stay away from whatever you're against, Kirby or Joe is practically untouchable as he knocks off chunks of the opponent's HP with each attack. Okay, so first of all, to quote this directly, if you use the charged B attack. Alright, so first you gotta charge it. Alright, so assuming you hold the button down, right? Set strength by holding. Okay, alright. So that's like Vulcan Jab. That's just pressing B. Okay. Alright, so those are the command grabs. Okay. Oh, but if you hold it, it's the Smash Punch. Okay. So like that's Vulcan Jab, but you're not charging it. So you hold the button to charge it. Okay, alright. I thought this was supposed to be able to go full screen. I thought this went full screen. I thought this went full screen. Well, okay. It deals, apparently, according to the wiki, it deals not the wiki, I'm sorry. According to TV tropes, we're Kirby based, it deals respectable damage. So I'm gonna stay over here. I'm gonna keep doing this. Apparently, if I do this, I cannot get hurt. Okay, wow, shoot, I didn't get hurt. Well, that's wispy, okay? Trust me, chat, that's wispy. Okay, alright. So if I do this, I can't get hurt. This is Chef Kawasaki. He's gonna be Chef Kawa Easy, lol. Alright, he was Chef Kawa Easy, lol. Okay. And then Bonkers. Alright, well, actually, spoilers, and this one pretty funny. Probably not gonna get hurt here either. Because he jumps in place for so long, and then he has to charge, and then... Okay. And then probably not gonna get hurt with Bugsy either. Oh, but I can jump and do it too. What? I got hit. I thought I was safe. Oh, no, I got hit. I'm taking damage. I thought this was... I thought I was safe. I thought I was safe. Klaire's actually being good at Kirby? I know, I'm doing a bad job showcasing my sarcasm. Ow, I got hit. I got hit. Ow, I got hit. Oh, wait, I was supposed to get hit there. Shoot. Yo, free mix? That was a free mix setup. Okay, so obviously, I'm being a sarcastic jerk right now. But you see what my point is. That's the logic just does not. The logic just does not. Dang! Alright, we're done. Alright, well, we're done with the Superstar entries. Those were pretty good, but they were also pretty bad. How many people were here when we were talking about the animal buddies in KDL 3? Like, which one did I think was the worst? Because, KDL 3. I'm curious here. Let's see. I was here, I think Pitch. Yep, you're correct. So let's see why TV Tropes disagrees with me. Pitch is easily the best animal friend with powerful versions of the abilities, such as Cutter and Burning, making him a big projectile that comes back and picks items up along the way. Spark, making him a controllable RC that can hurt enemies by touch, and Needle, making him and Kirby fly invincibly forward while damaging enemies. He's also easy to control with air movement. Oh. He's also easy to control with air movements almost similar to Kirby. Okay, I'm gonna ignore this last line predominantly. Oh, this is the only one? What? Even if you agree with this, you're incorrect. Even if you agree with this is not the only game breaker in Dreamland 3. A game with Koo plus Burning, Koo plus Cleaning, Kine plus Stone, Rick roll clip, Choo Choo plus Cleaning, Pitch. Pitch is all you've got. Come on. Come on. Okay. All right. Just in case you missed it. One more time. Oops. That's crazy. I can't even do it. Okay. Wow, that didn't hit. Color me impressed. This is so funny. This is so funny. It's so funny. It's so funny. Ow. 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 Chat! Oh my god! 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 It's so good, chat! Oh my god! I'm actually laughing out loud at how I couldn't even hit the mini boss. Oh, I was gonna say, you know what would actually be hype? If he could get the special stuff? I mean, obviously he cut that door open, but... Yeah, he can't even pick up the collectibles. That would be insane. I would actually say, like, forget it. It's, you know, I'll stop memeing if that's actually, like, kind of good. For the few useless powers and joke abilities, this game has a plethora of absolutely devastating powers that will allow you to mop through enemies and bosses with ease. Cutter plus... It's because it's a ninja throwing star and it looks cool. Gives Kirby explosive ninja star throwing power. It's extremely rapid fire and hits almost instantly. Literally, both of these are wrong. Most bosses go down very fast. Literally wrong. Well, I guess the mini bosses will go down very fast, but they go down very fast to the melting ice cube. Burning plus burning. Okay, you know what? This one's actually good. Basically turns Kirby into a comet that allows Kirby to soar long distances, destroying nearly everything in his path. He can also fly for much longer after Kirby has used his breath, allowing him to soar great distances past whole stages. You can't control your flight as the comet, but that's rarely a concern. I would disagree with this. That's the whole reason why solo burning is actually still quite usable and very good, even with double burning in the game. That is its flaw. This is right here. I think this is very inoffensive, right? I'm trying to remember which one Ice plus Ice Season is. That's the giant snowball, right? Yeah, okay. All enemies become, oh yeah, it's like a Katamari. If you want, yeah, I could show it off, but it's not very good. It's basically think Katamari. All enemies become absorbed in its path. The player doesn't even have to do anything most of the time. Just grab some popcorn and enjoy the mayhem. Really? Double Ace? All you have to do is grab popcorn. That's all you have to do. Clearly, that makes it good. Stone plus Cutter. All right. Ooh, maybe this is why they said pitch was good. All right, Stone plus Cutter turns Kirby into a stone form of one of his past companions. Stone form, Kirby is invincible, plowing through most enemies, while at worst losing his stone skin. What? If he hits a Gordo? Okay. It's a weird way to word it, but it's technically correct. Or other similar spiked item without losing health or the power. Now, just mash B until you get Pitch, the small bird, who can fly indefinitely. Not true, but is a lot faster than default movement. And you'll pass through most stages easily. As a bonus, Kirby won't be affected by water currents in this stone form, which helps immensely in a certain water stage. I think this one's correct. I wouldn't really call it, like, the most efficient thing, because there's a few things that it struggles with, notably moving up. And there's a lot of levels in Kirby 64 that ask you to move up a bunch. But, yeah. Burning plus Cutter. In addition to looking really cool, this BFS can also be held up and thrown. Helps a lot when fighting Acro and HRHE. Acro? How does this help during Acro? Also, I want to comment, chat. This is really funny because you only use Burning plus Cutter against Magman, who is not mentioned here. HRHE and Acro, you have multiple better options, especially Acro. Just solo bomb. Don't try to be cute. They admitted it. Looks really cool. Spark plus Cutter gives you a double-ended laser sword. What it lacks in the versatility of the fire sword, it makes up for in speed. Kirby, cutest Sith ever. I don't think I need to comment on that one. Not only does Spark plus Stone look cool, but you can hit enemies from every angle if you let the rock bounce around on its electric cord. You can casually walk through some stages with this combo. Whoa, okay, low-key, Stone plus Needle, it's the drill. Low-key, Stone plus Needle, almost good. Typical Needle, right? It's almost good. It allows you to fire a drill that destroys every enemy in its path, except invincible ones. Also, you can plow through enemies while holding onto it, making you an unstoppable projectile of doom. Also, if the button is mashed while in the air, and if a direction is held down, you can float insane distances, because activating the drill stops you from falling. Platforming and fighting help all in one. Yeah, it's the projectile actually does deal, like, decent damage versus bosses. It does keep you, elevated. I know, obviously, burning plus burning is going to be a lot better, right? But you can actually, this is actually kind of true. You can get some pretty good distances when you're using Stone Needle. This is going to sound really weird. Hear me out, chat. If we used Smogon's tiering system, if there is an OU, a UU, and RU, you know, like we had tiering systems for different Kirby abilities for efficient play, I don't know what tier it would land in, but whatever tier it ultimately ended up in, I can imagine Stone plus Needle actually being pretty meta. Because it does deal with bosses pretty well. It does plow through enemies. It's not a game breaker. I want to stress this. It's not a game breaker. But it's another example of Needle being, like, really cool, but not quite making the cut. Ice plus Spark. Ooh, okay. All right. Okay. This, low-key. When people talk about defensive abilities that don't have offensive merit, I'm sorry, this one has no offensive merit. This is the one that I dread hearing about the most, not because I don't like it. I love this ability. I think it's hilarious. But it is the one that legitimately I have the hardest time arguing against. This is an ability that gives you food that you can eat at any time. And the food that you spit out, no matter what, will heal you. It's like, it does nothing for efficient play. The only thing that I can say is that if you're playing that efficiently, you're really not going to need to worry about your health too much. But, like, man, even efficiently playing, it's like you can make mistakes. Unfortunately, I'm sorry to break it to you. This ability, it's not very good. It really has no offensive merit. And you need offenses in order to be viable and effective. This one just kind of heals you if you get hurt. And if you're playing efficiently, you're not going to get hurt that much. You will, but you're not going to get hurt so badly that you don't have, like, a plan to eat food somewhere, or there's food along your path, or you may not even need it. So, like, that's the logic there. Spark plus Spark surrounds Kirby with a force field that instantly zaps any enemy that touches it. That's the whole thing, I think. Yup. Burning plus Bomb. Kirby jumps... Fireworks! Okay. That's not why it's good. I'm not surprised that they got this wrong. This is good because it is really good for dealing with enemy mobs. Kirby 64 doesn't have a lot of enemy mobs, but the final level especially. But once or twice also beforehand, you do have to deal with a couple of just rooms of forced combat against enemies that keep spawning. And this is the best ability in the game for actually dealing with them, believe it or not. It's got occasional merit elsewhere. It's not amazing or anything. My bar for this page is, at this point, forget being a game breaker. Is it, like, good? If it's good, then it's enough of a game breaker. Applause to TV trope, sure. You know what? Why haven't I liked this video yet? I use Chill Kirby music to vibe to for so many streams. The bomb ability in and of itself is effective, because covering a good distance if held, it's also easy to use close up thanks to the animation, very easy to mash quickly with the B button. One of the most powerful is practical use, and with any situation, more than makes up for that. It's rate of experimentation, even newbie players will stumble upon one combo that makes the game breathe. As a result, the biggest challenges are found at 100% completion, where you often require to use a particular ability, not an effective one, to find shard. Just a warning though, do not expect to use these for the final boss Miracle Matter, who holds the distinction of being the only boss post-Dreamland where copy abilities are next to useless. I am done reading this. For Kirby 64, I want to move on to Amazing Mirror, but I am so done reading this nonsense for Kirby 64. This was nonsense. I'll go as far as to say this was worse than what they had to say about Mirror. This was bad. Shout outs to Ice plus Stone for being really fast. It's actually very good, and aside from the burning plus burning stuff, is probably the best for movement ability in the game, and is very good for bosses as well. And also really good for moving down underwater. And shout outs to TV Tropes for not mentioning it because this is bad. The very good news, they're right about Smash. They're actually completely correct. Chat, look at that. Look at that. Okay, alright, so what do they actually have to say about Smash here? We didn't even read this yet. It grants Kirby his moveset from Super Smash Bros., including moves Kirby can normally use with Cut, Hammer, and Stone, giving Kirby plenty of moves to play around with, and the ability to cut ropes, taking out silver blocks and wooden stakes that would require other abilities, though another ability would be needed to light fuses. This is true. The hammer swings in particular are heavily scaled up in power, dealing twice as much damage compared to the actual hammer ability, and actually making it better than hammer against many bosses in the game. There's an asterisk here, why? For instance, you can take out King Golem in just over a single second. Yeah, so can Stone. What's your point? It's a rare ability, but if you can acquire it, hold on to it as much as you can. Okay, so they don't give Stone enough highlight here from an offensive point of view. I mean, part of what they're talking about with like pounding stakes and stuff like that, that is used in Hundo. So there's actually, so you actually do get, and you can cut ropes with it. Okay, I'm assuming that's used in Hundo as well. Okay, I'm sorry, I just didn't know it for a fact, and I'm not trusting TV tropes. Oh, Master. Okay. All right. Wrong, but okay. The Master ability is fittingly named because it cannot be lost accidentally. When Kirby loses it, it doesn't disappear and can get past any obstacle in the game, including any obstacle that requires specific abilities. Ropes, silver blocks, wooden stakes, fuses, blah, blah, blah. It's also quite powerful and flexible, having far more attacks available than the plain sword ability. However, the only time it can be used before the credits are seen at least once is during the final boss battle, so its main use is either for easy access to missed treasures, or if it's going around the post-game if the file has been 100% completed. This is not a game breaker. Very rare instance of an ability not being very good because of availability. You can't mix for Master. You can't do it. Granted, I know I'm talking like speedrun lingo. If you just kind of any percent your way to the final boss and then get Master, it's still not better than a lot of the other abilities that you can use. I'd hardly call it a game breaker, but if you're not strictly speedrunning, if we're just talking efficiency, I guess it's a little better, I suppose. I saw Throw, and just immediately the war flashbacks from Wheelie. With a little bit of luck, Throw can break the main stage bosses in seconds. Wait for any boss to spawn stars or projectiles, inhale them with Throw, then hold the grabbed object against the boss. Kirby becomes invincible, and if the boss lingers around him, they take massive amounts of damage over time, with the amount of damage dealt by each hit being more than that of abilities like Stone and Missile? Who in their right mind is using a Missile for boss fights? Who is doing that? Who in their right mind would use missile? Combat, that's a better word. Missile's combat is not very good. It's its movement that's insanely strong. But who is using? I have never heard that one before. I'm gonna recite the bosses in my head. Let's actually think about which ones that throw would actually be viable for. King Golem, totally fine. Maybe like comparable or slightly worse than something like Parasol, I would say, because you gotta wait for King Golem to drop something. So you have to wait for it. So probably like a little worse than Parasol, but still totally fine. That's the boss of World 2. Boss of World 3 is Molly. Very good. Annoying, but very good. Boss of World 4 is Kracko. I would not say particularly viable. Kracko's in the air too much. Boss of World 5 is Mega Titan. Not at all viable because the Mega Titan can only be hit by being tossed into the wall. And obviously that doesn't work when the stars are nowhere near. Boss of World 6 is Gobbler. Does not work at all because that's underwater. Boss of World 7 is Wiz. Really doesn't work because Wiz has the protection of the hat the whole time. You're very rarely going to be able to deal hits. I suppose you can, but it's not going to be great. Boss of World 8 is Dark Mennonite. That doesn't really work because Mennonite is, I'm sorry, question mark, is so mobile and can parry your hits, so it's very unreliable. Boss of World 9 is the hands and not at all reliable because they're in the air. It's funny because if they just reworded this to mini bosses and bosses, because against the mini bosses, throw is really good because most of them aren't in the air. Local TV tropes article turns funny puppy into owl from sheer confusion. Who the Fluffle is using missile for anything but traversal? A missile is so bad. A child is using missile for boss fights. Yeah, and after like 1 or 2 tries, that child is like, wow, this ability is really bad. I'm gonna change to Smash because I saw a puppy do something like that once. And then their dad barges in and they're like, why do you sound like that, son? And the child is like, I love you, Dad. And the dad is like, that's cool, son. But I asked for a daughter, and I got a son. Not this again, Dad. No, son, listen to me. I wanted a daughter. Because if you don't get married, I won't have a child. Well, if I was a girl and I didn't get married, you wouldn't have a child either. That's true. I never thought of it like that. Do you think about anything, Dad? Not really, son. You have to understand. I'm white, so I get through the world just fine. Why? You know, I don't know, son. I never thought about it, because I don't think about anything. Well, you're consistent, Dad. Yes, I am, son. Come here. Let me tell you a story. This isn't about Wheel, Kirby, and Triple Deluxe again, is it, Dad? How did you know? Dad, there are other Kirby games than Triple Deluxe. Have you ever played Forgotten Land? Forgotten Land? I forgot about it. Ha 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 ha. Even I saw that one coming, Dad. Son, what's happening to your voice? You sound like you're like 10 years older than you did this morning. I'm hitting puberty, Dad. There's nothing you can do about it. Your child is growing up. Oh, they grow up so fast. Hey, Dad. You want me to be trans so you can have a daughter? Nothing would make me happier, son. Okay, I'm trans now. That's excellent, son. I mean, daughter. I'm sorry if it takes me time to know your pronouns. Just know that I support you with everything I have. Thanks, Dad. You're the best dad I could ask for. Really? Not really. Yeah, that's what I thought. So what now, Dad? I don't know. I'm out of ideas. Me too. All right, sorry about that. Sorry about that. I have no idea. I have no idea what happened there. I started and then I was like, let's not stop. I'm sorry. I'm sorry you had to hear that. That was seriously, that was like the textbook definition of a stream of consciousness. I was not thinking, you know? This is, you know what? I'm blaming TV tropes on this one. I'm putting the Kirby music back on and I'm blaming TV tropes. All right, what next? What next? Oh, Squeak Squad. Okay, even TV tropes has to know about Wheel in this game. I'm sure Tornado's gonna be on here, and I'm sure it's wrong. Tornado, of course. Tornado is overpowered to the point of literal insanity. You are effectively invincible while using it. You fly with easy controls while using it. It lasts a very long time. Does absurd contact damage. Cute. And the kicker, the frame it ends, you can start another tornado. It's actually easier to beat the final boss with it than the 11th hour superpower. If it wasn't, it wasn't such a game breaker in previous games where a tornado exists due to certain bosses that are either immune to such method or quite tricky to hit at close range, but Squeak Squad has no such boss. Tornado is good. Here are reasons why it's good. Most of these aren't true. But, okay, so Tornado, overpowered to the point of literal insanity, hyperbole, whatever, it's TV tropes. Effectively invincible while using it. While you are using it, yes, this was the case in all of the other games. But what about when you're not using it? You fly with easy controls while you're using it. Very subjective. I would argue this is actually not at all even, like, true. It lasts a very long time. That's just not true. Does absurd contact damage. That's just not true. And the kicker, the frame it ends, you can start another tornado. So I want to talk about this because in Kirby's Adventure, this is true. In Kirby's Squeak Squad, this is not. I would say Tornado is, like, okay for a couple of them. In fact, it's actually used for backup strats in Hundo, believe it or not. So Tornado does actually have some viability, but it's just backup strats. You know what? You know what? This is true. I would say it is easier to beat Dark Nebula with Tornado than Triple Star. But that has nothing to do with Tornado. That has entirely to do with Triple Star, because Triple Star is atrocious. Reddit's attention span isn't large enough to watch this stream. True, but the edited down VOD, maybe. All right, this next one is wrong too. U.F.O returns in this game, and now you can keep... No wheel! Forget it. Forget Tornado and Adventure. I'm changing that. No wheel. You are insane. There's no way. There's no way. There's no way they didn't put wheel on here. They're lying to me. They're lying to me. They're specifically to me.Ey're lying. They're lying. They're lying. They're lying. There's no way. 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 There's no way you say you use a missile for combat in Amazing Mirror and you don't put Wheel Squad in here. No way. U.F.O returns in this game. Now you can keep it after exiting stages. You still can't drop down floors. In addition, getting the copy scroll gives it an orbiting particle shield of 2 sparks that act as an quote-unquote effective barrier, and like any other electric attack, it sends sparks through the water and metallic surfaces. Great. You got U.F.O, and it's like weaker than it was in the other games. It's slow because it's Model Enter Nightmare. You have a shield, and then what? Where's Wheel? Where's the Wheel? Where is... Oh my god. I think what bothers me more than the stuff that's on here is the stuff that's not on here. All right, Based Wakaza, greatest Kirby speedrunner of all time. Look at this. Look at this mix. Look at this mix. Look at this mix. God, that's so cool. God, that's so cool. Oh my god. Oh my god, that was so cool. Oh my god, that was so cool. Low-key going indoors in this game really hard. Oh my god, this game. God, Wheel in this game. All right, so I return to TV tropes, angered and offended. Why is Wheel not on here? So Return to Dreamland, I accidentally skimmed through this earlier. There's a lot here. I have a lot to say. I have a lot to say on Wing. Okay, all right, let's see. Wing, there's a reason why you can't find this ability regularly until level 5. You know what, I actually do respect this because they said regularly. They specified it. You know, the idea is that, yeah, you can mix for it, but regularly speaking, outside of the mixing, this is what the balancing implies. So I actually respect this. Although you can find it in 1-4. Yeah, the 4th level of World 1 if you go to the Howl Room. It's actually a pretty decent backup for speedrunning if you don't know if you don't know your mixes, but you lose a lot of time. It's the best mobility ability in the game overall and essential to speedrunning. Correct. Wing has the 2nd fastest vertical mobility in the game behind the niche high jump. Yeah, if you're strictly talking vertical, correct. An excellent horizontal aerial mobility with its aerial dash attack, and when combined, allow you to basically pick and choose your height at any given time without losing any speed. So far, so good. Most of its aerial attacks have invincibility and are powerful, allowing you to plow through any enemies in your way while being able to go through some obstacles. That's correct. Additionally, it has one of the best, if not the best, damage outputs against aerial bosses in the game. One of the best. It's definitely not the best, but it's good enough to where, you know, it's Wing. Because so many of Wing Kirby's moves can now cancel into each other and, as mentioned above, have tons of invincibility, Wing Kirby is completely safe against most of these bosses and can shred them in seconds. Alright, that's not the whole story, but it's good enough. The only reason why Wing isn't used more in the arena is that it doesn't have a single attack that deals a lot of damage at once, which Hammer can use to get a head start on bosses. I knew they were going to drop the ball somewhere. This is not true at all. So, quirky thing about Return to Dreamland. Let's talk about this. Hammer, if you look at the best segments, if you're not talking about a singular run that's actually been done, if you're just looking at, like, the theoretical fastest times that people have actually achieved, and you combine those together, like a sum of best segments, so to speak, Hammer is the fastest. If you look at the fastest run that's ever been actually done by a person, Ninja is the fastest. And there's also Fatty Puffer, which is fastest with Parasol. So, yeah, there's that. This isn't perfect. There are some problems with this. In particular, I don't think they explained, like, what makes Wing stand apart from other abilities that have, like, invincible aerial dash attacks, like Parasol. But, I mean, everything that's said here is still correct, so, except for this. So everything said here is still correct. Yeah, I mean, I understand it. It's like, wow, this ability is so good. We're not going to give it to you until level 5. You're going to have to work for it. But, so I get the idea behind it, but yeah, you get mixed for it in the first level of the game. You take it to the very end. All right. This has to have been written in 2011. The Spark ability in this game is brutal. It combines the classic Spark, hold down attack, to erect an electric force field. With the Plasma ability from Kirby Superstar, the charge shot mechanic, unlike KSS, however, where you had to charge by matching the control pad in various directions, you can charge Return to Dreamland Spark by shaking the Wii Remote, which can quickly and easily fully charge the shot, although you can also match direction on the controller in this game as well. Combined with the fact that the fully charged blast deals ludicrous damage to just about anything, literally false, it can even take down the final boss in less than a minute. Maybe false. That is, of course, assuming your wrists don't get sore from waggling while dodging attacks. On top of all that, hitting the attack button while holding up or down will fire a lightning bolt to the edge of the screen in that direction, instantly hitting everything either above or below you, regardless of your charge level. Literally false. If you have a charge, even if you hold up or down, it will just do the attack forward. It will not, you'll not actually get stuff above or below you. It is actually quite inconvenient. Does not deal a lot of damage. Maybe, like, you could argue that the base hit is strong. I wouldn't. This is also something, like, I used to think that shaking the Wii Remote made it super broken compared to having a mash on the D-pad. I don't really think that anymore. I don't really see the difference. Well, I mean, obviously in the action itself, of course, but, you know, it's either your thumbs get super sore or your arms get super sore. Like, pick one. By the way, Task can fire about 3 shots in 2 seconds. So if you really want to go create, like, Task Spark is excellent. I'll give them that. It's pretty bad. I mean, it's better. It's a step up from, like, what people talk about with Stone, for example. Like, oh, just use Stone and never get hit. But at least, you know, you have movement. You know, you're not sacrificing your movement, really, at all. All right, well, they did Wing into Spark, so I have no idea whether to expect something good or bad next. Wait, there's more? There is a more. Whoa. Why is there so much? Why is there so much? To make it even better, when fully charged, it generates a barrier around Kirby that does decent damage. That's a lie. And protects him from most attacks. That's a lie. Well, okay, from regular enemies, sure. It either repels enemies who attack at a close range, fair enough, or destroys projectiles that touch the barrier. And if Spark Kirby is riding on another Kirby's back, the barrier is large enough to protect them both. I don't know if that's true or not, and it's TV trope, so I want to not trust them. However, for all its game-breaking potential, Spark has shades of being a skill gate ability, despite trivializing the difficulty of the main campaign and being a safe pick against bosses. Wrong. Humans can only charge Spark so quickly, thus its damage falls off for more experienced players, making it never the optimal choice for any sort of speedrun. What? This really confused me. This whole thing just really confused me. I've had a look of confusion on my face this whole time. I mean, I get the idea. Like, I remember being in 2011, I remember thinking that, but in 2011, I was 17. You know, I mean, I'm saying things like, oh my god, there's no way. There's no way. There's no way. I'm saying stuff like that, but I can't assume that most people are going to have this knowledge because it's not super readily available, whereas in my head, I've just been doing this for so long, which is why, you know, a big reason why on the channel I like to talk about this kind of thing, so that it can become more readily available, you know? Like, is Tornado good for the bosses in this game? Not at all. Is it good specifically for Landia? Because if you hit the crown, it does more damage. And Tornado is like the only ability in the game that has a really easy time hitting the crown multiple times. Yes. It's bizarre. It's like the one thing Tornado has going for it for fights, which is fine because it's crazy good for levels. What a game breaker. Hey! Tornado, I was just talking about this one. The Tornado ability returns and is more powerful than ever. I don't know about that. As always, it makes Kirby completely invincible until he stops spinning, making it easy to avoid damage and punish enemy assaults. Not only that, but it now has a charging attack that is used by shaking the Wii Remote while Kirby is spinning. Do they know? Do they know what makes this good? When he stops, the Tornado spreads out as it dissipates, causing a ton of constant damage and covering Kirby as he recovers. Needless to say, mastering Tornado is about the same as mastering Spark, and having at least 2 Kirbys with these abilities will wreck any bot. What? Okay, alright. Tornado is very good for the levels. What is this? They also failed to mention here that doing the shake, while Tornado Kirby is doing the shake, if you air puff cancel it, like mash float and then air puff cancel it, you actually nearly entirely erase the end lag, which allows you to use Tornado even faster, and you can loop it. Really good. And Return Deluxe did not remove that, thank goodness. So all the same shenanigans that it can do in Return to Dreamland, it can do in Return Deluxe. I just don't understand this. How does mastering Tornado have anything to do with mastering Spark? Oh, I saw the next one too. Let's put them both on screen. Let's talk about these at the same time, actually. Water deserves mention as well, notably its dash attack. Although it doesn't seem like much at first, Kirby rides away forward with no way to control or stop it until it ends a short distance away. Short? Kirby is literally invincible during the entire attack, meaning you can coast through anything, from giant boulders to the final boss's huge lasers. Literally not true! The other attacks aren't bad either. You can shoot a geyser straight up to hit flying bosses, or send blobs of water across the ground with unlimited range. Still, the dash attack is just ridiculous. And then Water's Rainbow Rain attack does good amount of damage and can be chained infinitely if you're quick enough. Oh, and Kirby is invincible the whole time, and said chaining makes him permanently invincible. Not true. And you can also suspend him in midair with this. My bad, you can't actually do it in midair. I'm pretty sure. Permanently invincible, you also suspend him in midair with this if you need to hit a floating boss. Okay, so Water Rainbow Rain, this is actually relatively inoffensive. It's your best attack against bosses, and that's basically what it's saying. There is gonna be, it's not, the whole thing isn't invincible. If you run into a boss and then you use it, you're not gonna have invincibility the whole time. Maybe if you're like TAS levels, but your average person is not gonna be able to do that. But Rainbow Rain is pretty good, so this is still sus and it's bad, but it's not terrible. Kirby is literally invincible during the entire attack. Like, welcome to Kirby. Also, implying the final boss's huge lasers are so short that water lasts long enough to get through them. I love going on the internet and spreading misinformation and unnecessary, reductive stuff. Hey, funny enough, water is actually, like, okay for speedrunning. It's not bad. Well, not what I would call a game breaker, but... Oh, speaking of, things, Leaf. Its guard renders you completely intangible to almost all attacks, almost. Much like Tax Guard, it won't save you from being sucked into a black hole. Oh, I never knew that. I just thought it made you intangible. Its Leaf Uppercut and Leaf Rain are fast, spammable, and do good damage, and it's one of the first powers you can obtain and is thus available in the first copy ability room. Okay, weird compliment, but okay. Leaf Uppercut and Leaf Rain are so fast, in fact, that Leaf is actually one of the premier... The lack of a single high-powered attack is a drawback, but wait a minute. The only reason my wing isn't used more in the arena is that it doesn't have a single attack that deals a lot of damage at once. But Wheel, oh my god, not Wheel. Leave is one of the premier boss slaying abilities in the game, despite looking like it would just be another defensive ability on the surface. Wait a minute, hold on, actually, no, I take this all back, I take it all back. This is the best one they've written so far, because of this. Despite looking like just another defensive ability on the surface. Boom. Defensive abilities, without offensive merits, they're no good. Its overall damage exceeds Sparks. Oh, whoa. All right, you got me there. You got me there. You're faster than, like, the 4th slowest ability in the game when performed by a human. You got me there. Premier boss killer ability. Leaf is epic. And is comparable to fighters? In what world? In what world is it comparable to fighters? And due to its ability to attack from so many different angles. Yeah, so many different angles. Directly below it and directly above it. Yeah. There isn't a single boss in the game that Leaf actually struggles with, even without using its guard. This is one of the worst ones, actually. What is a copy ability room? Okay, I'm a little late to this one, but in Return to Dreamland, when you're inside the Lore Star Cutter, when you get energy spheres, and you go back to the Star Cutter, when you get a certain amount, it unlocks different rooms. Like on the bottom, it can unlock mini games. On the right, it can unlock ability challenge stages, which are best. And on the left, there are copy ability rooms, which give you copy abilities. They're just for free. But you need to get a certain amount of energy spheres to actually use them. And the very first one, I believe you only need 15 energy spheres to unlock, so you get it very early. And Sword's there, Cutter's there, Leaf is there, Fire is there. Wanna say Needle is also there, but I could be wrong. Millie blended me up? Yeah, like... Blended definition. Mix? She's preparing you to be a Kirby speedrunner. That's so cool. It couldn't have said anything else. It had to say mix. Ah, okay. Fighter is actually a really, oh my god. Stop talking about Spark. Fighter easily breaks the final boss due to its invincibility frames in Rising Break. What? All you have to do is use the uppercut, get on top, and repeatedly use the drop kick. Okay, but that's not why Fighter is broken. It's also very powerful as a general ability. Okay, they baited me on this one. They definitely baited me on this one. I thought this was had to be worried, but maybe they'll get better. Its instant Mega Force Blast, inputted with down forward in 1 Hadouken, deals 36 damage and comes out very fast. To put it into perspective, this is only slightly less than a fully charged Spark Wave and does not require a charge. The only downside to this is that it doesn't hit bosses in the air, it can kinda. But the aforementioned Rising Break and Drop Kick trick, possibly coupled with other respectable aerial options that have good range, makes short work of them. Good enough. Good enough. At least when they talked about Spark, it was just talking about, like, Fighters better. Well, the Rapid Fire Hadouken is the quarter circle forward. You just do it over and over. It's very strong. I hate to say it. I peripheral visioned. I know it's next, and you'll never believe what they're going to try to throw at us again. Stone! Stone is broken even by Stone ability standards. Not only does it make you almost totally invincible to most attacks, but it has 2 attacks, dash +1 and down +1 in midair, that allow you to hit enemies multiple times for massive damage. Who uses Stone's dash attack and thinks, wow, this did a lot of damage? If that weren't enough, this Stone also has a purely offensive uppercut attack that's like a non-fiery version of Hammer's Hammer Flip. You wish. It is slower. It is weaker. It has less range. It is on a worse ability. I think they lost the plot and just started writing a game walkthrough. My god. Oh, here we go. Except this one's actually good. Hammer's infamy carries on into the original Wii version. Ooh. Maybe they know about Return Deluxe, where King fell off. It's made worse with Day-to-Day. All right, they're already wrong. Who naturally keeps his hammer even after using the hammer throw, meaning he can just spam the powerful attack as much as he wants. The hammer flip starting from this game can also hit when the hammer is being held up as it's flaming, dealing extra hits before the swing itself, if positioned right. In Deluxe, Hammer Flip was updated to its modern and less efficient version from Kirby Star Allies that requires Kirby to charge it, making it useful only for scoring incidental hits. However, at the same time, Day-to-Day was significantly buffed. This is true. The developers gave him his head slide and Day-to-Day jump from Starlies and Fighters 2, and compared to Triple Deluxe, Starlies, and Fighters 2, neutral aerial attack is an aerial hammer attack instead of giant swing, which comes out much faster. He doesn't even mind the hammer flip nerf as much, since his version is now stronger, very true, and his hammer doesn't do passive damage. Since Return to Dreamland scales damage down if a hit is comboed into, that means he will always be hitting for maximum damage. Wow, that's actually correct. What? Why is that one specifically, like, so accurate? I'm so confused. Why? Why? They're talking about damage scaling on TV tropes? How do we go from Stone is broken even by Stone ability standards to Return to Dreamland scales damage down if hit is comboed into? How do we go from point A to point B? Chat, this has ruined my brain. This is like 10,000 times better than I could have ever expected. Wait, what is the Return to Dreamland combo mechanic that was mentioned in the hammer paragraph? We'll use hammer flip as an example, and it is correct. They did get that right. Say you're using it against Wispy. We'll just make this the easiest example. You're using it against Wispy. You're facing the direction of Wispy, so when you charge hammer flip, the hammer itself is not touching Wispy, right? You do the hammer flip, it does hammer flip damage. You probably like 3-shot Wispy because it's so strong. Now let's say you are turning away from Wispy, so that when you do the hammer flip itself is actually touching Wispy. In Return to Dreamland, they changed it so that it does multiple hits. When it's charging up, when the flames are coming onto it and stuff, those flames do little bits of damage before the hammer flip happens. But if you've ever done that before, then you'll know the actual hammer flip itself, the actual strong hit, is going to do less damage. You can literally see it because, I don't know the exact numbers, but Return to Dreamland, when it does something like that, it scales it down because those moves, because it's part of all one attack, it's a combo. Starting from Return to Dreamland, Ice got an amazing move that wrecks bosses, grants invincibility, does as much damage as Spark's biggest shot. Stop talking about it! It's not that good! Stop talking about Spark! Why do you keep talking about it? It's not very good! And can be easily spammed. What do we... Oh, Ice can easily be spammed. Okay. Ice Ball alone solidifies Ice place among the broken abilities in the game, as the amount of time you have invincibility frames following the attack is laughably overpowered. It also has surprising range. The Ice Ball can hit mid-air foes just fine if they're a little above the attack. Ice Ball covers up all the weaknesses of Super Ice Sprinkle used with the lag cancel trick explained above. It lets you reposition or get that extra little hit in when the boss moves out of the way, all while staying completely safe in the process. When considering this alongside the fact that Ice's guard is one of the guards that is immune to almost anything, that it has the fastest grab in the game and Ice eject... What? They're all the same speed, but... Ice has, oh wait, I skipped stuff, sorry, and that I can freeze certain projectiles that bosses use to deal even more damage to them. It doesn't do a lot of damage, but you know what? You sure can freeze the projectiles instead of just attacking. Ice has the potential to destroy any boss in the game. Okay, and then this is actually not at all about Return to Dreamland, so I'm gonna skip it. What's a TV Trope's favorite website? Spark Notes. This is a wrong statement, by the way. Parasol, after being mediocre throughout the GBA and DS era, and only really usable at the task level in Superstar, gained a single move that makes it the bane of all grounded bosses in the original Wii version, Parasol Twirl. This is true. It grants Kirby invincibility and nearly full control of horizontal drift during its active frames and deals up to 72 damage in quick succession. In comparison, a hammer flip does 80 damage and is much slower than this move. Parasol's grounded damage is thus the best in the game by far, even beating out Hammer and Fighter, and it makes otherwise headache-inducing bosses like HRD3, you can't even talk about Fatty Puffer, into complete jokes. Its weakness is that it can do the same to airborne bosses, but many of those have patterns where they swoop near the ground anyway, giving you plenty of openings to unleash this move on them. Parasol overall has been buffed as well. It gains true invincibility on its dash attack now, letting you plow through open stages with its great horizontal movement without having to worry about taking any damage. Unfortunately, Deluxe gave its single harshest nerf to Parasol Twirl. I do not like that it did this. Unfortunately, TV Tropes is correct here. Toning down its base damage for Twirl from 16 to 12, and thus reducing Twirl's damage to nearly 48 after combo adjustments. While it is still strong against grounded bosses, it is no longer broken levels of strong, and several of the new endgame bosses are conveniently at a height where Parasol Twirl can't reach, making Parasol struggle greatly against them. Seems like someone on the development team really had it out for this ability. This was good. This is, you know why? You want to know why that was good? Look at this, look at this, look at this. You ready? An example that's technically correct, even though Fatty Puffer would have been better. Numbers. 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 Sorry. Numbers. Numbers. Facts and mechanics. Something that holds it back from being a game breaker. Something that makes it a game breaker. True invul on dash attack, unlike the other games. Well, Superstar Ultra, I guess. That was pretty good. That one is pretty good. I'm thankful I didn't have to sit here screaming about Parasol this whole time. You know what my problem with it is, though? Parasol in this game actually, like, really sucks. It's really sad. The thing is, you know, Parasol swing? You know, just a normal Parasol attack. You hit the B button, or the 1 button, I guess. And, you know, you do the little, like, swoosh. Is the cause of all our problems, because it is not the same size as a fully charged Spark. They didn't mention Spark! They didn't mention Spark! This person is not a TV troper. There's someone else. This move is broken, though. This move is broken. Magolor's dash attack, Magolor Surge. which is different from the KSA one. I get your joke, Puyo. Is very, very broken. It has some of the highest DPS in the game, builds combo extremely fast due to each dash hitting 4 times. Why is it like this? I don't know. Meaning extra magic points to upgrade him with, and grants generous invulnerability during use, letting Magolor weave in and out of enemies and even bosses with a steady stream of high damage. A fully upgraded Magolor Surge allows Magolor to chain up to 3 consecutive invulnerable dashes in a row in any direction desired, allowing him to steamroll the entire rest of the game. That actually explains it pretty well. Okay, so it makes Sword and Spear redundant. Hi, Beetle. All of its attacks, even as rapid-fire combo attacks, do a massive amount of damage coupled with generous invincibility frames. Why is this still like Spear, though? It can even smash in pegs like Stone and Hammer, cut ropes like Sword and Cutter. That is true. Its flight damages enemies barely. What? And it can even use powerful grappling moves like Suplex from the earlier games, making it overshadow other abilities even more. Has been added to Kirby Fighters Deluxe, though you have to play Triple Deluxe to unlock it, but it's been toned down so many of its moves have a slight delay. It's still extremely powerful, though. The Archer ability is amazing for both bosses and normal gameplay due to one single attack, Magic Star Arrow. You can charge your arrow in about 2.5 seconds to get the arrow that reaches the same damage as the very powerful Hammer and Stone abilities. Not true. Thanks to its very fast charging speed, excellent range, and really good damage, you can take out most bosses with ease. And if that wasn't enough, the ability includes an evasive maneuver that makes Kirby immune to damage akin to Leaf's Guard by crouching. Its only disadvantage is that it makes for a poor close range ability, but its potential to let you snipe enemies from a safe distance clearly outweighs its cons. Like with Beetle, Kirby Fighters notably tones it down, however, with the arrows taking far longer to charge and there being a slight delay with the invincibility camouflage. Alright, so all that defensive stuff doesn't really mean anything, but Magic Star Arrow, I like it. It's amazing for bosses in gameplay due to one single attack. Gameplay, not so much, but like the bosses. And it says Magic Star Arrow, it explains to it, and then it starts talking about other stuff that isn't as good. Circus? Wow, alright. Although tricky to time, the Circus ability can become one. Remember the... High jump? Remember the high jump ability? Circus ability incorporated high jump into its moveset with the trampoline jump. The down B move is a ball roll that is slightly longer lasting version of the hammer twirl. Lastly, the fire hoop jump is one of the few moves that can accurately damage Sectonia in both games. During her teleportation move, he fights Sectonia in more than one game. A move typically hard to pinpoint. These moves can be used in combination to slice through the true arena, especially in the later game. I don't get that one. That one just made absolutely no sense. Circus is good, but there's no way it belongs here. You can't have a pure W anywhere. That was a bizarre one, but we can move on to Planet Robobot. It's totally fine. It's totally fine.
Okay, I think we all kind of get the picture of what TV Tropes is trying to tell us here. In particular, they don't really know what they're talking about, so we're gonna go over Planet Robobot and call it there. You might be wondering why I'm interrupting the video over 100 minutes in to tell you this, but I just wanted to say that because this also covered, in the stream as well as on TV Tropes, Kirby Battle Royale of all things, as well as Star Allies and Forgotten Land. Battle Royale and Forgotten Land were kind of normal, what you would expect, but the Star Allies one was really rough, and I highly recommend you check out the VOD to see what I am talking about. I cannot believe that they actually put down the things that they said. But, yeah, enjoy.
Alright, let's get it done then. Planet Robobot. Sort of. Although it's a simple fun ability at first glance, true mastery of the supernatural ability reveals that it has a You're telling me true mastery of a copy ability reveals that it has a dash attack. Oh, whatever. Yeah, cover ground easily, an energy ball move, span near an enemy without charging, press DPS, and a counter prediction move that, when used right, is like an omnidirectional hammer flip without the long startup and cooldown. If you're able to combine that with a second knowledge of how to fight the final boss, whatever, the greatest way possible, you potentially be the true arena unless 14 minutes tops. Okay. Hammer remains as powerful as ever, perhaps the strongest it's ever been. Here's the proof. Okay, all right. I talk about this a lot, so I'll actually read this one because unless they get it wrong, I'm correct. It seems that thanks to the mechanics of boss invincibility being reworked, in past games, bosses got a second of mercy invul each time they're hit. In this game, that has been removed altogether, barring the switch between boss stages, and even then, it's only heightened defense, not invul. Any ability that has a move that's usable in the air, has respectable power, and is spammable, such as Psychokinesis, Giant Swing, and Super Ice Sprinkle, in addition to a move with very high power, such as PK Evade, Hammer Flip, and Ice Ejection, has the potential to rip through the true arena in a record-breaking time. Exhibits A and B are shown above. Exhibit C, Ice, which Ice has the fastest time, by the way. Other examples include Ninja, which admittedly was always good, Doctor, which is a new ability, Whip, which is, like, kind of good, and Cutter, which is super-duper legit. Not with Final Cutter, though. What? Stoneleaf and Archer return are just as game-breaking as they were in their previous appearances. All three of them have skills to evade almost all attacks altogether and have powerful spammable moves to boot. Leaf's Leaf Uppercut and Archer's Magic Star Arrow. Leaf especially, besides the default attack and Leaf Rain being nerfed. Besides its moves being nerfed, it's still good. Whatever. Poison! Take the water ability from Return to Dreamland, Invincible Charge, and all. Invincible Charge? What? Oh, the down-up move, I guess? Now add in the added bonus of leaving a toxic trail on the ground, which harms anything that treads on it. Is the enemy airborne? No problem. Kirby can spit out 2 to 3 toxic clouds and achieve the same effect, all while being able to attack as himself while the poison trap chips away the enemy's health. Even better, the multi-hitting geyser attack, I don't know why that's in quotes, is now aimable, even at very close to 90 degrees. Yeah, no, there's some problems I have with the poison one. I mean, it's technically correct, but it's another one of those ones that's like, just trust me on these numbers. Trust me on these numbers. Trust me on these numbers. Mirror is an amazing ability in terms of pure spectacle and defense, having a guard that is nigh impenetrable, false, but in combat, it underperforms. Most of its attacks deal pitiful damage with the exception of Mirror Cut. All right, chat, I'm going to be real with you. Chat. I came here because what I am about to read to you is the whole reason why we're doing this to begin with. I hope you're ready. Most of its attacks deal pitiful damage, with the exception of Mirror Cut, the close-range melee move. This leads to the question of, why don't I just use Sword instead? How do you top that? How do you top that? I read that, and I'm like, oh my god. Oh my god. I wanted to read this much earlier than the 7.5 hour mark, so I do apologize for that. This broke me. I wish I read this live. I wish I read this. This broke me. This just broke me. Boy, howdy, chat. Thank you for sticking around for all of this. People who came early, people who came late, people who came in the middle. Just thank you all for sticking around. And yeah, TV tropes is scary. So, thank you all so much for stopping by. Whoops, I'm not Ingy. No, not Ingy. Thank you everybody for stopping by, hanging out. This was super fun. I'll make this a VOD, hopefully by the end of the month, if not, sometime in April. And until I see you all again, bye!